Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty crucial today for companies building tech-powered products.
Definitely crucial.
It's the product operating model. And we've got excerpts from Marty Cagan's Transformed.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's packed with insights from top product leaders. And I think a good place to start is actually with you guys listening.
Yeah, for sure.
Think about your own company for a second.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're just churning out features but not really truly innovating?
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone if you feel that way.
Nope, not at all.
Companies like Adobe, Kaiser Permanente, and Trainline, they were all in the same boat, and this deep dive is going to show how they turn things around.
Yeah, they really did. It's pretty remarkable.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay, sounds good.
What exactly is this product operating model?
So it's not just for tech companies, right?
Right.
It's a mindset shift for any company that builds products that use technology. It's how you build, how you solve problems, and most importantly, how you choose which problems to solve in the first place.
I see. So it's not just about the what, it's about the why behind the what.
Yeah, exactly. It's about having that bigger picture in mind.
That makes a lot of sense.
Marty actually uses this great analogy in the book. It's like remodeling a house.
Okay.
Are you just going to slap on some paint to flip it, or are you going to invest in a solid foundation that lasts?
Right. So are you building for the short term or the long term?
Exactly. And the product model is about building that long-term foundation for innovation.
I like that analogy a lot.
Yeah,
I think it's something that everyone can relate to.
definitely.
But how about we make this a little more concrete?
Yeah, sure.
Can we bring this to life with a real-world example?
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about Trainline.
Okay.
They're the leading rail ticket retailer in the UK.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of them.
And they were facing some serious challenges.
Like what?
So the technology was outdated, their releases were really slow, and they had this very transactional approach.
So it sounds like they were really stuck in that feature factory rut we talked about earlier.
Totally. They were ripe for disruption.
So how did they get out of that rut? How did they turn things around?
Well, they made a really bold move and decided to insource their engineering talent.
Wow, that's a big decision.
It was huge, but it allowed them to tackle their technical debt and start releasing updates much faster.
So it wasn't just about hiring new people.
Right.
It was about changing the entire way the company operated.
Exactly. It was a huge cultural shift.
Did they make any other changes?
Oh, yeah, they didn't stop there. They also started empowering their product teams to really solve problems.
Instead of just building features.
Yes, they gave them ownership and let them figure out the best way to achieve specific outcomes.
So they weren't just told what to build. They were actually figuring out how to solve real user problems.
That's the idea. And it had a huge impact.
What kind of impact?
Well, their mobile app and site conversion rates improved almost immediately.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty clear sign of success.
Right. But what's really interesting is that they had also invested in data science early on.
Yeah.
So they were collecting all this data on how people were using their products.
And that led to
some unexpected innovation opportunities.
data-driven innovation. I like it. Tell me more.
So one of the coolest things they did was actually create a feature that used crowdsourced data
What do you mean?
to help travelers find less crowded train cars.
Wow. How did they do that?
People were always complaining about packed trains.
Makes sense.
So they used their data to find a solution. They were able to take data about train capacity and turn it into something that really benefited their customers.
That's amazing. Who wouldn't want to avoid a packed train?
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how a data-driven approach can lead to those aha moments.
So they were solving problems that they might not have even known existed without the data.
Exactly. And that's a core principle of the product operating model.
This is really making me think about all the missed opportunities at companies that aren't using data effectively.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like driving with a blindfold on.
Absolutely. And speaking of key principles, there are a few more that are really crucial for making this whole thing work.
All right, lay them on me. I'm ready to hear more about how to build this dream team.
Okay, so we've talked about data, but another big one is product discovery.
Product discovery.
Yeah, it's about testing ideas quickly and cheaply before you commit to building a whole feature.
So before you invest a ton of time and resources, you want to make sure you're on the right track.
Exactly. It's like don't spend months building a house if the blueprint might be flawed.
Right, you want to catch those mistakes early.
Yeah, maybe even just sketch the house on a napkin first to see if the layout makes sense.
Makes sense.
Mm.
I've definitely seen companies go down rabbit holes building things that nobody actually wanted.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
What a waste of time and effort.
Totally. And then, of course, there's continuous delivery.
Okay.
This goes hand in hand with rapid prototyping.
Okay.
It's about releasing smaller updates more frequently instead of those big, scary releases that can take months.
So it's more like agile sprints than one giant leap of faith.
Exactly. Continuous delivery lets you get feedback, quickly make adjustments, and ensure you're always delivering value.
Value to your customers.
Exactly.
So this is all starting to paint a picture of a much more dynamic and responsive way of working.
Right. It's about being adaptable and responsive to change.
Now, you mentioned the difference between a product team and a feature team earlier.
Right.
Can we unpack that a bit more?
Sure. So think of it this way. A feature team is like a restaurant that only takes orders.
Okay, I'm listening.
The customer says, I want cheeseburger, no pickles, and the team delivers exactly that.
No questions asked.
No questions asked.
So they're very efficient at fulfilling orders,
Mhm.
but they're not necessarily thinking about what might make a better burger.
Right, or what the customer really needs.
Okay, so what's a product team then?
A product team is more like a chef
Okay.
who understands flavors, ingredients, and what makes a meal truly delightful. They might ask the customer, are you looking for something hearty? Do you like things spicy?
Interesting.
They're solving for the underlying need, not just the literal order.
I get it. So it's about understanding the why behind the what.
That's it. And that's a key difference.
So how do you actually shift a team's mindset from order taker to problem solver?
That's where strong leadership comes in.
Okay.
Product leaders need to champion this new way of working.
So they need to explain the why, set the vision, and create a culture that supports these empowered teams.
Absolutely. They're like the coaches inspiring the team to play a whole new game.
And the strategists figuring out which problems are the most important to solve.
Exactly. And they define clear outcomes for their teams.
That requires a really deep understanding, not just of the customer,
Right.
but of the market and the business as a whole.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just say, build a cool feature.
Right.
Strong product leaders need to be able to connect product strategy to overall business goals.
I see. So they're the ones saying, okay, this is where we want to go as a company, and these are the problems we need to solve to get there.
Yes. And they need to have a strong data sense, too.
Oh, right data.
They need to track the right metrics and use data to inform their decisions.
So that they're not just going on gut feeling.
Nope. They're using evidence to make sure the product is moving the needle.
Moving the needle on things.
Revenue, customer satisfaction, or whatever the company's key goals are.
So they're like the navigators using data as their compass to make sure everyone's headed in the right direction.
I like that analogy.
But changing an entire company's approach to product development,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen overnight, right?
Oh, no, it's a journey.
So how do you actually start making this shift?
That's a great question, and it's one that can feel really daunting.
Yeah, for
There's no magic button.
Right.
But Marty Cagan suggests starting with a thorough assessment of your organization's current state.
Okay, a current state assessment.
Yeah, you need to know where you are before you can figure out where you're going.
So what does that look like in practice? Are we talking spreadsheets and surveys?
Well, part of it is definitely taking stock
Yeah.
of the current situation.
Okay.
Look at how your product teams are structured and how they work.
How they're structured and how they work.
Are they operating as feature teams or product teams? Are they being told what to build, or are they empowered to solve problems?
So it's like taking inventory, right?
Exactly.
Seeing what tools and resources you already have,
Yeah.
and which ones you're missing.
You also want to assess your product leadership.
Okay.
Do you have strong leaders in place? Leaders who are capable of championing this change? Do they understand the product operating model and how to guide their teams through this transformation?
So you're making sure the leaders are equipped to lead,
Yeah,
not just manage.
exactly.
What about the technical side of things?
Oh, that's crucial too. Are your engineering practices up to speed for continuous delivery?
That's a good question.
Do you have the infrastructure to support rapid prototyping testing deployment?
Those are all important things to consider.
They really are.
So it's about taking a clear-eyed look at where you are today,
Yeah,
without judgment, and figuring out where you need to go.
that's a great way to put it.
So that's step one, the assessment.
Yep. The first step in the journey.
And we'll dive deeper into the next steps in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, stay tuned.
Oh,
We'll be right back.
okay.
And we're back for part 2 of our deep dive into the product operating model.
All right, let's jump right in.
So last time we talked about the importance of assessing your organization's current state.
Right, like taking inventory,
You're figuring out where you want to go.
where you need to be.
So let's say we've done that assessment.
Okay,
We've got a clear picture of where we stand.
we're ready to roll up our sleeves.
What are the next steps?
Well, once you have that assessment, you can start developing a plan for making the necessary changes.
Transition to this product operating model.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that you don't have to do everything at once.
Right. You want to boil the ocean.
You can take a phased approach,
Yeah.
focus on one area at a time.
So start small and then scale up as you go.
Yeah, it's like building a house.
One room at a time.
One room at a time, exactly. And as you're going through this process,
As you're going through this process.
it's crucial to create an environment of psychological safety.
Oh, that's so important.
It really is.
I've seen how fear of failure can just completely stifle any kind of creativity
Oh, yeah.
and innovation.
It's a killer.
So how do you cultivate this sense of safety within a team, within a company?
It starts with the leaders.
Okay.
They need to set the tone
By
by making it clear that it's okay to take risks, to experiment, and even to fail.
or fail.
Yeah, as long as you learn from those failures.
So it's less about punishing mistakes
right.
and more about creating this culture of learning and continuous improvement.
That's the goal. People need to feel comfortable speaking up, sharing their ideas, and admitting when they've made a mistake.
It takes a lot of vulnerability,
It does.
both from the individuals on the team
Right.
and from the leaders themselves.
Absolutely. But when you have that level of trust,
When you have that trust,
it's amazing what a team can accomplish.
it really is. And that's what the product operating model is all about.
It's about creating an environment where people feel empowered to do their best work.
This makes me think about all the times I've seen these brilliant ideas just get shut down
Oh.
because someone was afraid to take a risk
Right.
or admit they didn't have all the answers.
Or admit they didn't know.
Yeah, what a missed opportunity.
It really is.
And I guess that's what the product operating model is designed to do.
It's to unlock that potential.
To unlock that potential and change the way we work, not just the things we build.
Absolutely. It's about creating a better way to build.
Now, I know from experience, change can be challenging.
Yeah, especially in larger organizations.
It can be really tough to get everyone on board with a new way of thinking.
So how do you do it?
Well, one thing that's really important is communication.
Communication.
You need to clearly articulate the why behind the change.
Okay.
Why are we moving to this product operating model? How is it going to help us better serve our customers? How is it going to help us achieve our business goals?
Yeah, you have to connect it back to the big picture.
And you also have to make sure the change makes people's work more fulfilling.
That's a good point. People need to feel like they're part of something meaningful.
So it's not enough to just tell people what's changing. You have to explain the reasons behind it.
You have to get them excited.
Get them excited about the potential benefits.
Yeah, make them feel like they're part of the solution.
And involve people in the process.
Involve people.
Yeah, get their feedback, listen to their concerns, and address them proactively.
It's about creating that sense of ownership.
Shared ownership.
Shared ownership, yeah. It's about creating a movement, not just a mandate.
And celebrate successes along the way.
Celebrate successes.
Yeah, when a product team achieves a big win,
Absolutely.
make sure to recognize their efforts and share the impact of their work.
You want to build momentum.
Show those early wins.
Yeah.
Prove that this new way of working actually delivers results.
That's how you get people on board.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Experiment.
And iterate.
Hurry.
Transformation is not a linear process.
Oh, no.
It's about constantly learning and adapting.
Figuring out what works.
What works for your company.
Exactly. What works for one company might not work for another.
So be open to trying different approaches and finding what works best for your organization.
Tailor it to your need.
It's less about following this rigid set of rules
Yeah.
and more about embracing the principles of the model
The core principle.
and then tailoring them to your specific context.
That's the key. And that's why it's so important to really understand those principles.
Speaking of principles, let's recap those one more time just to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay, so we've talked about
Empowered teams,
product discovery,
data-driven decision-making,
continuous delivery,
psychological safety,
and the importance of strong product leadership.
and that culture of continuous learning and improvement.
Right, those are the building blocks.
Those are the building blocks of a successful product operating model.
But of course, there's always more to explore.
In part 3 of this deep dive, we're going to look at some of the common objections,
Yeah, the challenges.
the challenges that come up during this kind of transformation,
We're going to talk about how to overcome those hurdles,
and keep that momentum going.
even when things get tough.
So until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
Keep learning.
We'll catch you in part 3.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the product operating model.
Part 3, let's do it.
And, we've talked about a lot of the positives,
The benefits.
the benefits, but I know from experience that whenever you're trying to make a big change like this, there are always going to be some
Concerns.
concerns. Yeah.
Objection.
Objections, yeah.
Roadblocks.
Roadblocks. And I think it's kind of like when you're planning a renovation, you know,
Okay.
you might love the idea of a brand new kitchen,
Right.
but then you start thinking about like, oh, the cost,
Yeah.
the disruption,
The mess.
the mess. Yeah, exactly. And it can be a little daunting.
Definitely. And the same thing happens with organizational change.
So let's talk about some of those common objections.
Yeah, let's address those head on.
When it comes to this product operating model,
Okay.
one of the biggest ones I hear, especially from like executives,
Yeah.
is about control.
Control.
You know, it can be pretty scary to think about giving product teams so much autonomy.
It can feel like you're losing control.
Yeah, what if they go off on a tangent and build something that nobody wants?
Right. What if they go rogue?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you address that fear?
Well, it's a valid concern for sure, but here's the thing. The product operating model isn't about giving teams free rein to do whatever they want. It's about empowering them within a defined framework.
So it's not like handing them the car keys and saying, have fun, see you later.
Right.
It's more like,
Here's the map.
here's the car, here's the map.
Here are the rules of the road.
Here are the traffic laws. Now drive safely and let me know if you have any questions.
That's a great way to put it. You're still setting the destination and providing guidance, but you're also trusting your team to navigate.
Okay, so you're not losing control.
No, you're actually gaining more control in a way.
Because
Because you're empowering the people who are closest to the problem to come up with the solutions.
to make those decisions.
Exactly. Now, another big question I hear, especially from finance,
Finance.
is about ROI.
Return on investment.
How do you measure the ROI of this new model?
They want to see those numbers.
They want to see the impact.
How do you prove the value of something that's like,
Less tangible?
yeah, it's more about a mindset shift than like a tangible output.
Right. It's not always about shipping features. It's about the impact those features have.
So instead of measuring how many features you ship,
Exactly.
you're measuring the impact those features have on business metrics.
That's the key. You're speaking the language of business impact, which is something everyone understands.
So instead of saying, we built a new checkout flow,
Yeah.
you're saying, our new checkout flow led to a 10% increase in conversion rates, or it reduced cart abandonment by 5%.
Now you're talking. Those are numbers that everyone can get behind.
All right, so we've got the executives on board, we've got finance on board.
Who else do we need?
What about the sales team?
Oh, yeah, sales.
They're often the ones who are like closest to the customer.
Front lines.
Yeah. So they might worry about losing some of their influence over the product roadmap.
Right. They want to make sure their customers' voices are heard.
How do you address those concerns?
Communication is key. Make sure they understand how this model benefits them. They're still providing those valuable insights.
So give them visibility into the roadmap. Keep them informed about new features and involve them in strategy discussions.
Absolutely. Make them feel like they're part of the process.
It's all about collaboration, right?
Collaboration, partnership, working together.
To achieve those shared goals.
Share goals, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the C-suite, we've talked about finance, we've talked about sales.
Who's left?
Now let's zoom in on the product teams themselves.
The heart of it all.
What are some of the internal hurdles they might face?
Okay, so one of the biggest ones is getting comfortable with experimentation and failure.
It can be tough.
It can be, especially for teams that are used to that more traditional waterfall approach,
Right.
where failure is seen as a negative.
So how do you help them overcome that fear?
You have to reframe failure as a learning opportunity.
Okay.
It's a necessary step on the path to success.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times
You're going to get some scrapes.
before you find your balance.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's the leader's job to create that safe space for experimentation,
That psychological safety that we talked about earlier.
where people feel comfortable taking risks.
And trying new things even if they don't always work out.
Exactly. That's how innovation happens.
Now, another challenge I can imagine is time management,
Time management. Oh, yeah.
with so much emphasis on prototyping and testing.
Rapid cycles.
How do product teams actually find the time to build and ship?
Right. It can feel like you're always just testing and never actually building.
Yeah, it could easily turn into this like endless cycle of ideation.
Without execution.
So how do you avoid that trap?
Prioritization is key. You have to be ruthless about saying no.
To the things that don't align with your strategy.
Exactly. Focus your energy on the highest impact initiatives.
It's like Marie Kondoing your to-do list.
I love that. Keep only the things that spark joy and get rid of the rest.
So much yes to that.
It's about being intentional with your time and your resources.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
A lot of ground.
3 parts.
3 parts.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's the one key takeaway
The one thing you want listeners to remember.
that you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah. Transforming to a product operating model is not easy.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, but it's incredibly rewarding.
It's about creating a company that is truly customer-centric,
Data-driven.
data-driven,
Built for innovation.
built to solve problems,
It's about moving from being a feature factory.
to being a problem-solving powerhouse.
I like that.
And it's possible.
And while there will be bumps along the way,
There will be bumps.
we can get there.
By embracing the principles we've talked about.
And by keeping that why front and center,
That's important.
the why behind the change.
You can unlock incredible potential.
So here's a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay, fire away.
What is one problem your company could be solving better
Ooh, good one.
with a more customer-centric, data-driven approach?
Talk about it.
Keep those brains buzzing.
That's what we like to hear.
We've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to learn.
So much more to explore.
Keep learning, keep experimenting.
And keep building amazing products.
That make a difference. That's a wrap on our deep dive into the product operating model. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those brains buzzing.
See ya. See ya.